There we go. Okay. So what we want to discuss today is challenging catastrophizing mindset. I think I was pronouncing it very weirdly last time. I do the correction this time. So last time when we were discussing, we discussed a lot of topics, and one of the main cognitive distortion or biases that came across is catastrophizing. And in this time, for example, when there is so much of pandemic, a lot of us have this and echo the feeling of, oh, if I got something delivered at my doorstep and I touch it, and now this is going to spread virus at my home. It's going to be with my daughter, with my mom, and what do I do? How do I go and help people around? The world is falling apart. I don't know if we will ever recover from this, etc. We also brought examples like when my daughter was small and she was playing in garden doing the monkey bars for the first time. Oh, she's going to fall. She's going to break her leg. How do I stop her? How do I protect her? How do I still let her play, etc. Right? So this was the distortion that we wanted to work around. And we thought, okay, let's do it as a gradual step today and challenge this catastrophizing mindset. So we are going to roughly have the agenda in 4 parts. The first part is we are going to talk about some kind of perceptions and how limited our brains are sometimes. They are very effective, but they are very simple and sometimes very limited. Then we are going to do a demo like last time again. This time maybe Alessandra takes the role of the coach and we see how it goes from there. We talk a little bit about mindfulness around this topic. And then we again open up for discussions and hope the discussions continue as good as we did last time. So we try to stick this around 20-30 minutes, but it may spill over. So without further ado, I think I will get started with initial parts of perception. And so why I wanted to bring about the perception point is to really step back and sometimes challenge our rights and wrong thinking in our head. So what I want all of you to do is, before I get into the topic, maybe write down somewhere or think of an item or an incident or an experience in your life that when you see something happening, you can clearly tell that this is wrong, or yeah, this is definitely wrong. Or when you see or hear something and you are, no, this is definitely right. I can be 100% sure this is right. Yeah. So just think about one such thought process that you have where you think, oh, if this is happening, or if I see this happening, or if people behave like this is definitely wrong. Or if I see this is wrong and this is right. Yeah. For example, for me, if in India, the lane disciplines are not too strict, or people don't follow it too strictly while driving cars and bikes, especially bikes. And when somebody is with a kid within their vehicles and they don't follow lanes properly and they just zip zap through the traffic, for me it is, oh, this is definitely wrong. There cannot be an explanation on why this is right. This is surely wrong. Yeah, something as small as that, or something bigger than that. So just give yourself some time and think about that. And then I come back to this question at the end of this first agenda item, right? So let's start with some of the very basic. Maybe you guys have already seen this, but some things are very simple, but they are very powerful according to me, right? So can you see this image, all of you, on my screen now? Yeah. And if some of you already know where I'm going towards, just bear with me, but let's stick to this flow, right? Now, how much ever we know or we don't know, is it really, how do you see these two colors, right? On the top, the darker gray, and on bottom, the lighter gray. Is there anywhere where you can tell yourself or allow somebody else to tell, you know what, these are exactly the same color? Would you believe that? Right? Perceptually, even if you want to believe that, will your eyes and brain tell, yeah, they are the same color? Do you see this as same color, or do you see it as different colors? Yeah, anyone?
Well, depending on the perspective, I mean, I'm a trained photographer, so I know how to squint my eyes and to put my fingers like this, you know, to leave the noise out.
Yes.
But that's a personal training. If
Yes.
not, just the little white that divides both of them
Yes.
would give me the hint,
Yes.
and I would go with the idea that one is clearer than the other,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not necessarily.
Not necessarily, right? So for example, I think if I just put a box here, you see that? Now you see the top and the bottom is exactly the same color. And Pilar, as rightly she pointed out, that little light over here gives us an impression in our brain, no, unknowingly for all of us, right? That maybe this is more clearer or lighter than the before, right? But this in context of daily things that you see around, right? If you just put a box here, they turn out to be the same color. And if not, your brain might say maybe they're different. And more often than not, you don't have time to think before you judge in your head whether it's same or not, right? For you, immediate impulse would be, oh, they are definitely different color, right? Similarly, one of my favorite is this, right? Because how much ever we see this through and squint your eyes or put a line on it. Now, if I were to ask you, is the color within that box A and color within this box B different or same according to you? And if it is different, how different is it? How many shades different do you think the color around in the box B and the color in the box A are? Alessandra, have you seen this before, Alessandra?
Not this specific one, no.
Yeah, yeah. So how convinced are you that these two are of the same color? Or they are, how convinced are you that they are definitely different colors?
I'm pretty convinced that they are different.
Yeah.
Letter B is slightly...
A being slightly darker.
No, B slightly lighter.
B slightly lighter, right? So for example, if I now take the color A, yeah, and then just take a line and draw through this, you see that? The color A and color B are exactly the same. You know, let me
Oh.
let me see show you it
And
from
I also thought that that it were... Uh-huh.
See, I just pick up the color A and I now pick up the color B as well, right? And you see, they are exactly the same. And the fun part with this, when I do it with people, is they come up with very weird explanations around this, right? They say, oh, by the way, but B is in shadow. So when you take color A and try and bring it from A into B, it is becoming lighter. Or no, but there is no shadow. It's only, it's a 2D diagram. It looks like a shadow, but there isn't any shadow over there, right? And then you would, sometimes you would be, people would come out with very, very funny explanation because your brain is going crazy and you don't like it. You're challenging your neuro bridge now because your neuro bridge is set. Most of the humans, it's set for us to tell A and B are of different color. And this is not an acquired skill set. We have not learned this somewhere to consciously differentiate between these two colors. It comes up so normally that we think, oh, maybe that's a shadow. And in the shadow, if the color is looking exactly same as the outside the shadow, which means it must be lighter. And then that encompassed with shadow is making it look for my brain same color. But leaving the science apart, right? What I wanted to tell is this is how wrong our thinking could be, right? So the next time you have a judgment on something that I'm 100% sure this is right, or I'm 100% sure this is wrong, think about this A and B, right? And I'm already feeling that you all are thinking, yeah, but this is not, this is morally what I thought of an example is definitely wrong, etc. But just give it a thought. Maybe it's exactly the opposite, right? So yeah, these lines, for example, and you'll get a lot of, there is this National Geographic brain games, one of my favorite series, right? I love it, right? These lines, right? They look crooked. They are all straight parallel lines. They're all straight parallel lines, right? So this is how simple it is to fool our brains, or there is science behind it why our brain works like that. But just to a point of perception that whatever you are perceiving, which means everything in this world is what you perceive, you cannot be 100% sure whether it's right or wrong. And with that, I stop the item first, call out for any feedback, anything that you thought about this after seeing this. What do you think? And then we can move out to the second topic. Anyone? No?
Yeah, so Jemin Nirmal here. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have seen this presentation from you earlier for our UX, so I could definitely correlate that. But I completely agree. Our perception could be completely different from what we think, and so definitely I take it.
Yeah, but Nirmal, if you can share, if there was something that just before the access to my first question when I asked you, can you think of something which is absolutely wrong according to you or absolutely right according to you? Do you still think that's the point, or do you think after this exercise maybe you need to rethink about it, or do you still stick to that? Can you share what you were thinking before I started that thing? What was the definite wrong or a definite right that you were thinking before this?
Definite wrong, of course. Stealing somebody else's credit. So, being in this role, we always get to see that, okay, people trying to take away someone else's credit and, project it as if like it's done by them. So that's something I always think that it's completely wrong. And I still stand by it.
You still stand by it? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, give it a thought later, right? I mean, A and B, maybe the way you see it, way you perceive it is maybe completely, it's the A and B cognition, right. Yeah, between those boxes. Sure.
Right. Thank you.
Pilar, any thoughts?
I think about things that have to do with the law and being righteous and I mean, I spend a lot of my time trying to teach ethics with parables to young people. So it's hard to comment on just one thing that it's absolutely wrong or absolutely right, because part of the ethics has to do with perspective.
Yes.
And I always give them a case that's an exercise a friend of mine gave me, where she wrote a story that a young man was in the park in his lunch hour, and he had a sandwich, and he was just feeding part of the crumbs to the birds. So on one side of the park, an old lady says, "Oh, this young man, he's sharing his lunch with the birds, such a good boy." And on the other side, another old lady was saying, "This man doesn't appreciate the lunch his mother made for him, and he's wasting it on the birds." So any random act, depending on what you focus on, can be horrible or can be wonderful. I mean, horrible things, extreme things. I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in doing something to someone without their consent.
Yeah.
I think that's trespassing beyond.
Yeah.
And something that is always right is to be firm with your limits without being rude.
Yeah.
And those would be the examples I'll go with.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, again, like last time, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there isn't rights and wrongs, right? There are, or there could be very well defined rights and wrongs. What I wanted to bring up is our perception of what is right and what is wrong could be biased, or that itself could be wrong, and we might have to defer the judgment and look at it from other perspective, and it suddenly changes, right? Like kind enough to feed the bird versus not appreciating mother's effort to cook the meal, right? So that's all I wanted to say. There are definitely, I don't want to say that there is nothing right and wrong for now, at least. All right, Alessandra, anything from you? Else we can get started into our CBT demo.
No, well, just I think that this is the essence of challenging our mindset.
Yes.
First of all, getting the idea that our perceptions might not coincide or might not be with somebody else's, or they might not be very accurate.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have an open mind to say, well, maybe what I'm thinking, there's an alternative, you're always going to stay stuck in that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what we're trying to do here is challenge the mindset.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Very, very well put. And again, right, just a last thought on that from my side. If you look at it from a perspective, so for example, Nirmal brought up this ethical point of people trying and stealing away credit of others' work on themselves. There's a very interesting um, uh, concept that I have hit in my life, right? If you look at, more often than not, most of the people in their heads are right, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything. There are very few people, at least I have come across, who know, oh, this is unethical, this is wrong, and I'm doing it, right? They have an explanation of why they do it and why they think it is right. And if my perception about my thinking is right, their perception about their thinking is right, then it's not a conflict between right and right anymore, right? So it's really to understand that everybody is right in their heads. So as much as I have thing to be right for myself, others have right to be right for themselves. Very interesting. I see a running out time. The meeting will end in 10 minutes. Seemingly I need to upgrade. So let's see. Otherwise I'll send across another link immediately to continue the meeting. Sorry for this. Okay. So yeah, I see one more person, Raj, joining in. Welcome, Raj. Hope you get the context of what we are doing. You missed the first part of perceptions, but we will now dive into the topic of challenging the catastrophic mindset using CBT tools, um, and we will take it from there. So yeah, if any of you want to bring out your catastrophizing mindset and discuss it with Alessandra, we can start it like that as a coaching pair, or I come up with an example and Alessandra tries to be the coach, and we take you through an example of Socratic questioning approach, and she will explain, Alessandra will explain more about that approach as well. Again, a simple but a very powerful tool according to me, and we take it from there. So any volunteers, or should me and Alessandra go for it? Alessandra, we go for it.
Okay.
Okay. So I think in continuation to the last week storyline of coronavirus thing, right? So India is in lockdown, but not a lot of people are following this properly. I live in an apartment gated community, so we don't really go out. But I still, within the gated community, most of us are still following rules of staying isolated at home. But there are some people who go out, start walking around, go out for jogging, etc. And I feel this is going to create a big issue for the gated community we have. There might be a possibility of spread from this area, and especially when I see them taking kids down, I'm really worried on what this could bring, because they are the most vulnerable age group. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and that makes me very, very scared, to a point where sometimes at night I'm restless and I'm not even able to sleep properly. So that's my problem, that it's really on brink of a disaster, and we are not serious enough about this, even after our government giving very strict and very direct direction on how we should behave. So that's my problem as of now. That's the catastrophizing that I'm doing. So we are not going to do ABC like last time to derive the B. This is my cognition disorder. I catastrophize a lot. So for example, and it's not only in this current situation, but for example, it leads up in a lot of other situations in my life, right? My daughter doing monkey bar, oh, she's going to fall and break her legs, for example. It scares me, right? So this is where this is my distortion, and I need help with this.
Okay. And what makes you think that? With what makes you think that what you're telling me?
So I have read on I've seen in news, and I've got say most often than not I've got WhatsApp forwards etc. from a lot of my colleagues on how one case could lead into so many other cases around, right? So for example, there was one case which we had in Korea, the patient 31, South Korea, which was responsible overall for doing 60% of the cases throughout the nation, right? So I think these are the points from where I get the seriousness about the current situation, and I think we are in a problem.
Okay, and is that all the evidence you have, or do you have other factors that make you think that?
No, I've not, to be very honest with you, I'm so stressed by the situation. I've not really gone into looking onto the evidence or trying to find more evidence to justify my thoughts. I'm just too scared with the already available information.
No. Okay, and the information these colleagues have given you, is it reliable information? They've gotten it from specialists in epidemiology, the WHO, or?
No, I'm not sure, because there are arguments between the groups as well, where they say sometimes, oh, this information is not right. So I'm not really sure if it is, or if all of it is true, but I would like to believe it. It just makes me feel that this is what they are saying could be true, right? So, but maybe no, it's doesn't really, all of it doesn't support the evidence. For example, jogging around in a gated community with social distancing, maybe it's okay, but yeah, it's just scary.
Okay. Have you heard of any cases of people jogging or walking around that have contracted the virus?
From within the gated communities, no. Outside, yes.
Okay. Okay. And when you do go out, are you following all the precautions like a face mask and things like that?
Yeah, yes. I see people very careful in our community. They always have masks. They always are keeping so one or two people with good enough social distancing. They don't form groups. They just do their walks, go back to the room. So yeah.
Okay, so on the one hand, you have all this information about how dangerous the virus is and how easily it can spread, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but on the other hand, you haven't had any cases of people in your enclosed community getting infected. Also, you've been following all the precautions,
Yes.
as well as the members of your community.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you make out of it? How can we put these two pieces of information that
Together,
are
yeah.
a bit opposed to each other? How can we find like middle point, a way to join them, or make sense out of the information actually?
Yeah, so I see what you mean. So on one side, I think I am very scared, and in that case, maybe what applies to the general outside public places does not necessarily apply in our community. Maybe it does, but maybe I am just overreacting to the entire scene. It is serious still. It should be dealt very seriously, but maybe it is not as bad as all of these people going out in public and having gatherings together and stuff like that. So maybe an isolated walk and jog is within the community is still okay. It is still risky, but it's not maybe as risky as going out in public and doing things. So I'm maybe comparing two different levels of risk. It's still bad, it's still risky according to me, but it's maybe not as bad as I'm imagining in my head for now. Okay. I think we end our CBT session here. This was a quick sneak peek into how we do. So, Alessandra, you want to give some insights on what you did?
But you see, well, what we did, for those of you who are new to CBT, first I applied a Socratic questioning. I made him analyze the evidence that was supporting his thought and the evidence that was against that thought, and then try to put it together into a more helpful thought, a less distressing thought.
Yeah, Alessandra, I want to interrupt for a minute. Maybe this meeting gets over, then I pass on the new meeting link immediately. Again, sorry for that. I have to still go through the upgrade. But I pass the link immediately. Sorry for this.
Okay.
Yeah, Alessandra, continue, please.
Well, that was basically it, and I'd like to think that with that new thought that you came up with, well, maybe going out for a jog in